Good afternoon and an extremely warm welcome to today's Marketeers Conclave webinar. We have come up with an extremely interesting topic, New Normal in Marketing. I, Dr. Sunita Srivastav, Director at Aditya Institute of Management Studies and Research, take this opportunity to welcome the panelists, all the esteemed panelists who are there representing diverse fields within marketing. We have with us Mr. Amit Sharma, Vice President, Future Group, Mr. Shashank Lanjekar, Executive Vice President and Head of Strategic Planning, TAP Dentsu. Mr. Samir Vitlani, Experiential Marketing Head, DDB Mudra. And to join them all, we will also have Mr. Manpreet Singh, the President from Indian Council of International Business. An extremely warm welcome to all my esteemed panelists. I would also like to take this opportunity to welcome participants who have shown enormous interest and who have registered in huge numbers from organizations, to name a few, such as HUL, HDFC Life, Edelweiss, Reliance Industries Limited, Hansa Equity, and a huge group of faculty members together with different students. So all of us have assembled here to hear from these experts their viewpoints related to how is the marketing world going to shape up in coming times. How is it that COVID-19 is going to impact the manner in which the marketing activities have to be conceptualized by different organizations. But before we get into this lively, interesting topic, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our institute to all the viewers. Aditya Institute of Management Studies and Research, AIMSR, has become known as a business school that challenges conventional learning processes in management education in India. The institute has been ranked among the top 10 B schools in Mumbai and 45th among the top private institutes in India according to the Times B School Survey 2020. AIMSR received an award and certificate of excellence at the Nav Bharat Education Award ceremony in June 2019. The felicitation was given for being a business school that offers best fusion of global and Indian teaching practices. Maximum attention is focused on developing the holistic personality of the students by sensitizing them to cultures of different kinds. In November 2019, students visited Hyundai Motor Company and Samsung during the international study tour. The exposure to South Korean culture and their way of life added to students' understanding of global markets in many different ways. In today's times of globalization, partnerships in learning and teaching are extremely important. At AIMSR, we believe in receiving partnerships and coming up with different types of MOUs with different organizations. We are an institutional member of MDC, IMA, IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry, AIMS, CII, MHRD's IIC, and ICIB. Our partners joined hands with the Institute during the 8th International Research Conference based on the theme, Transforming Business the Smart Way. This year, management development programs were organized for middle and senior level managers from different types of organizations, including Sri Ram City Union Finance Limited, Polymath Advisors, Pidilite, etc. This year, AIMSR has received an impressive response from recruiters. Recruiters from different industries visited the campus, of which the regular recruiters were ITC, ICICI Bank, 99 Acres, Mahindra, Vivo, Decathlon, Godrej, Ola, Pepsi, and several others. AIMSR remains extremely active with student engagement and development activities through its various clubs and cells. Each club organizes conclaves and summits with contemporary themes throughout the year. So this was a brief introduction about Aditya Institute of Management Studies and Research. Now I think I have the honor of welcoming and also introducing Mr. Manpreet Singh to all of us. Mr. Manpreet Singh is going to be the moderator for today's panel discussion. So good afternoon to you, Mr. Manpreet Singh. I would like to introduce him. After graduating in chemical engineering, he pursued his Masters of Business Administration from IIM Bangalore. He has to his credit an intellectual property certification from World intellectual property organization. He is a professional with a foot in several spheres. He has a strong entrepreneurial lineage and mindset. He started all this by joining his footwear components family business way back in 2001 and thereafter founding Sunny Enterprises. He has also become the managing director of Rashtriya Chemicals and executive director of Sunny International Ventures over a period of time. He has been instrumental in promoting international trade and exchange in various sectors such as footwear and apparel, agriculture, engineering items, media, and fashion. Additionally, he has had several social commitments in the capacity of Chairman, International Relations Council, Maharashtra Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture Goodwill Ambassador for the Government of Nagaland, Special Executive Officer, Friends of Malaysia for the Government of Malaysia, and other prestigious positions. He is presently the President at the Indian Chamber of International Business, ICIB. I would say that Mr. Manpreet Singh has been extremely helpful and cooperative in extending a helping hand to the Institute on numerous occasions, including coming up with tie-ups with different types of institutes. And today, I have extreme pleasure in inviting him to take over as the moderator for this session. So all over to Mr. Manpreet Singh.
Thank you so much, madam. It's a pleasure and honor to be part of this conclave and to be associated with the Aditya Institute of Management Studies and Research. It gives me great honor today to be the moderator at this session at the Marketeers Conclave webinar, which shows a new normal in marketing. It's an amazing thing what we are seeing in the world today. It's totally out of the box thinking that people are inventing. In this time of pandemic, we find that there is so much innovation happening, so much out of the box thinking, and it's a new normal for all of us. At least in our lifetimes, we have never seen such situations before, let it be in our personal lives or in our business lives. We find that the earlier norms that we were used to, the ways of marketing, the ways of selling, the personal touch is all gone for a toss. And we all have to assume and think that we have to adjust to this new normal that we are in today. Coming on to the topic and to highlight more on the situation that we are in and how the new normal is going to be absorbed by the people of today, we are having an amazing panel today with us. We have Mr. Amit Sharma, Vice President, Future Group India. We have Mr. Shashank Lanjekar, Executive Vice President and Head of Strategic Planning, Taproot Dentsu, and Mr. Samir Vitlani, Experimental Marketing Lead, DDB Mudra. With such an esteemed panel and immense knowledge that is going to be shared today, we will find that the innovation that has been coming out in today's time and how it can be adopted by all of us is a learning experience. I would like to introduce Mr. Amit Sharma. He's the Vice President of the Future Group, a Master of Management Studies from the University of Mumbai. He's been a high-performance retail professional with over 12 years of experience in managing profit centers, business development, retail operations, mall management, brand development, and management and marketing communications. He's overcome complex business challenges and makes high-stake decisions within the fast-paced, high-pressure environments using experience-backed judgment, innovation, strong work ethics, humor, and irreproachable integrity. Since starting his professional career with them, he has had a long stint with the Future Group, where he joined as a management trainee, marketing communications, and has risen to his current position of Vice President, Mall Business. He has also been a visiting guest faculty to several B schools of repute, such as SP Jain, BIMTech, BITS Pilani, NMIMS, to name a few. Our next speaker for the day is Mr. Shashank Lanjekar, Executive Vice President and Head of Strategic Planning, Taproot Dentsu. After graduating in mechanical engineering, he went to obtain his Masters of Management Studies from University of Mumbai. He has over 20 years of experience across diverse fields such as manufacturing, sourcing, sales and marketing, advertising, and teaching, of course. During his innings in advertising, although he started in account management, he's moved into providing strategic support to his creative team and clients. He's worked for premier and aspirational advertising organizations such as McCann, Soho Square, and Ogilvy. He's presently Executive Vice President and Head of Strategic Planning at Taproot Dentsu. And our last but not the least, one of the most experienced speaker today, Mr. Samir Vitliani, Experiential Head and Lead, DDB Mudra. After graduating in Commerce and Economics, he went on to pursue his MBA from KJ Somaya Institute of Management Studies and Research. He began his career with Radio Mirchi and has since moved on to hold senior management positions at Ogilvy and Engage for More. In a career spanning 14 years, he has worked for clients such as Hindustan Unilever, Nerolac Paints, Mahindra and Mahindra, Godrej Appliances, Procter & Gamble, Cipla, and many more. His expertise in brand activation, market analysis, managing campaigns is evident from the several awards he's bagged in nationwide creative fests. One particular campaign, Health Chashri Ganesh, won the prestigious Black Elephant at Curious and Gold at Creative Abbey's Goa Fest 2015. This campaign won 15 plus awards during the year. Besides being an experiential marketing expert, he's also an educationalist and has been a long-time visiting faculty to Chetna Institute of Management and Research, as well as MET Institute for their BMM batch. It gives me great honor and pleasure to have all three of y'all here with us today. I request Mr. Amit Sharma for his opening remarks.
Thank you, Manpreet. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Sunita ma'am and Aditya Institute for calling me and inviting me. It's my honor and privilege to be here. Of course, after checking the profile of Shashank and Samir, I say, no, there's a quote that you should be in a room where people are more smarter than you. So I think I'm in the right room right now. These are stalwarts and far more experienced, and especially in brand and marketing. So I'm thanking God that I'm in the right room. So I have made a small presentation, 120 slides. Then I realized time is short, so I made it further short. So it's hardly 25 slides. So I'll just take you through that because I don't know much about brand and all. I am more of an operational guy, but okay, during the initial phase of my career, we were very much involved in communication, brand communication, marketing, developing new brands, small brands, real estate brands, Big Bazaar, FBB, so many things. So I thought I need some helping hand, and this helping hand is my presentation. So during this course of time, we can take some questions also. I'll try to finish in like 10-15 minutes. Give me a sec. Is it okay? Can you guys see the presentation?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay, okay. So I'll state. So this is what's new normal. I was just trying to think, and then I saw kids around me, kids in my house, and then I realized this is new normal for the students. When parents are very worried, even if kid is venturing out to play or to go to school or college or even for basic groceries, right? But what's new normal for people like me? This is the new normal for most of us who are going to offices.
Amit, the audio is not playing.
Oh, I think there is some. Sorry, I think my bad. Okay, so okay, I'll just share the It was a funny video wherein it's saying that you're taking too much of time and you're going, it's like you're going on a war, but actually it's going to office. That's the reality with my wife, and I've seen with a lot of my friends who are trying to go to office, but this is the reality of life as of now. And that's new normal for most of us who are in their business or who are in their jobs. So what has this new normal has done? So this has actually from the 3 years progress. I'll primarily be talking about digital. So this 3 year has been attained in last 4 months, or I'll say 3 months, starting from April till June. So how it has been possible? So two things. So there have been some changes in terms of habit formation. Some are reversible, some are irreversible. Some we have adapted because of our flexibility. So that's because our DNA is so flexible, human genes. Second is some habits will stay permanent with us. So there are 4 things. One is travel, food, work from home, shopping, and how we consume media. These 5 things has been changed during this lockdown period or because of this pandemic. But we don't know. If you ask me, I can't. I can just have my self-fulfilling prophecy, but I can't predict anything. It was very, very highly uncertain and highly unpredictable. So I remember in March, we are talking to the teams. Okay, let's make the plan for at least Q2 of this financial year. And starting from June onwards, everything will be normal. But now we are in July, and we think it will go till Diwali. And I'm sure, like morning, I went to a hospital for something, and I was talking to the doctor. Hey, doc, do you think once the vaccine come, everything will be normal? She was like, no, because there are many components of this virus. So even if a vaccine comes, it can cure 1 or 2 or 3 types of these viruses, but not the entire thing. So then I realized it's a long shot. We are in a we are on a highway. We are not on a state highway or an interior road. So, but because of this, we have adapted, but we are not sure whether this adaptability will be permanent or not. So whether it is retail, whether it is hotel, hospitality, doctors, everybody has gone online, everybody, thanks to COVID. Even higher income people. So people who used to buy Gucci, Prada, Louis Vuitton, Salvatore Ferragamo, they are on digital. Millennials, they were always on digital. I considered myself to be part of them. So, and they are currently now also. And of course, so there, I'll give a personal anecdote. I remember my mother is averse to online. And I'm talking, I think in the month of May, she was telling me, Amit, I just need to go, can you open your Amazon account? I need to check something. So that was like the zero moment of truth from me, what Google has told in 2000, coined as 2011, that even old age people now are very, very much comfortable with digital. I remember all my uncles and aunties are on Facebook, and I'm telling you, for everything they will be replying to you immediately on your Facebook comment, right? So that's new to me. It has impacted US, the largest economy, a $24 trillion economy, and world's number 1 economy. You can see some facts and figures. So regular consumer who used to do online and the new consumers, what they have got. Same is happening in China. So this is the index from 100 of offline, which is brick and mortar, or I'll say anything, has gone down to 79. So it has gone down to roughly around 22% in last 4 months. So as the internet gone, it has grown, it has transformed. So earlier it was only comparing the price A to B or B to C, but now you compare everything. It's not only the products or services. So what's digital? So I thought this is, believe me, this is in most of the organization we have seen this. So this is digital. This is the irony of life. It is YouTube, Pinterest, Facebook. You are there on social media channel, but you don't know, you can't figure it out what to do. So, but in reality, digital has is providing 3 big opportunities. First is online shopping or e-commerce. So especially for brands who want to have the D2C channel, direct to consumer, whether it is Nike or consumers or Adidas or it can be Urban Cap or even Big Bazaar or DMart, it is a big opportunity for the brands to establish a direct connection with the customer. So I'll give a very simple example. Gillette. So Gillette, if you see, they sell their products through modern trade or through traditional trade, mom and pop, or through Big Bazaars or DMart. But now they are trying, how can we have a direct connection with my customer? So like what $1 Million Shave Club has done. So they got sold for a valuation of $1 billion only because with $100 million of sales, only because their D2C approach. Second, this is of course everybody's talking big data analytics, so data centric for having more personalized experience. And of course, I specialize in this, new channels, and of course omni-channel. So it's like we say God is omnipresent. We have to say a marketer has to be omnipresent, right? Everywhere, and it has to be interconnected. It has to be seamless. But in marketing history, it is we all know that a challenger brand will come and it will take the substantial market share from the occupier. There are three big reasons for that. But how an old guard or an old brand or a big brand can have their sustenance? So there are 5 old gold rules. So I say oldie goldie. So oldie, but of course goldie for me. First, be available. This is again most of the confusion with most of the marketing people I have seen in my organization. I have seen with myself also. You can see very well if your product is selling, very simple, make sure your product or your brand is available at the point of sale, whether it is mom and pop store, e-commerce, marketplace, your own website, application, or social commerce, conversational commerce, mobile commerce, or brick and mortar or modern trade. You should be available. I remember I was talking to somebody in Canada, and in Costco, he was saying around 28 to 30% of sales of products are going to other brands who are available. And this cartoon very well is a reality. Products are not available. So make sure, again, it's a role of a marketing come sales to make sure availability of brand of your product. Second, humanizing the experience. This is the best time, trust me, to be kind and humble, right? How can you be? So there is, you must have seen, right? So how can you be kind? By, of course, even if you're doing a charity or donations during COVID, make sure you're vocal about it. Again, you should, it should not, there's a very thin line to draw wherein you are not bragging about what you're doing in donation and charity. And it's not only about doing donation and charity, it's actually humanizing the entire experience. But irrespective of the challenger brand, there are many brand loyals like me. Like if you ask me, like me for Puma, I am always loyal to Puma. That's my brand, right? So what they're doing, they are being authentic. And what's authentic? So this is again my take on authenticity. Make sure you are authentic in real sense. You are not just authentic for the sake of saying. So being kind, being authentic, and being available. So these are 3 old gold rules, and plus of course have common sense. Again, we'll discuss, I think once we have the discussion, I can just take this up later. And again, I think just let me know if this ad is working. I'll madam, can you just let me know whether the sound is working?
It is not working actually.
It's not working, but I think this can work without sound also, this one.
Okay, we'll watch it. No problem.
Yeah. Okay, so the point here was timing is everything. So the context is this ad by KFC in United Kingdom in England. They aired this ad during Navratri. I'm saying not Navratri, but during the March end, and that was the time it was hit with pandemic. So it is a fantastic video, production quality, everything, the message, brand message, everything is seamless. But the problem is timing was wrong. And of course, I think within a week they took back this ad because there was a lot of negativity on Twitter, on social media. On one side, we are promoting social distancing. On one side, you are saying go and lick your finger in KFC. So again, timing is everything in life. This is my personal take. Again, next ad, I will not waste our time on this. So this is the ad is fantastic, but again, it's an ad by a cruise line, one of the famous cruise lines in US. But they aired the ad in mid of March, and on one side you're saying you should not travel, on one side they were promoting. Again, they also pulled the ad, but they were talking about, I think, the entire media budget. They have booked a media of around $6 million. Everything went for a toss. Everything. Of course, they might have some renegotiation with the media houses, but again, sometimes it's your sheer bad luck. But there are some smart brands like Coca-Cola. You can see what they're doing. Our own Indian homegrown brand Amul, and of course Nike. I think you can read the message is very loud, clear, visible, and vocal. And it was my favorite, of course. Again, but the sound is not working. It's an ad by Ford, wherein during March they were planning to launch. So not launch. They were planning to launch 2 new vehicles. But as soon as they realized this situation, especially because they have some production in China also, so from November, December, they were starting getting news about this pandemic. So as soon as US government announced their stimulus package Fed of around $2 trillion, they rolled out this ad. It's a fantastic ad, and you see the kind of views and the kind of positive mouth of word they've got, because they're saying instead of making car, so in World War II, we were making the bombers and equipments for the army. Now, when there was a highway and roadways revolution in America, we were building cars. Now America need us. So we are manufacturing masks and sanitizers and those kits. So it's a basic, again, on a philanthropy side, but very well executed campaign, what they've done. Yeah, I think that's this long one, but that's from my side, what we can do in this new normal as a marketer. Then I think there are further points we can take up later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amit. I mean, it's a very different perspective that we have. And, you are so much highlighted it from the perspective of your operations point of view and your experience with marketing. And you showed the example of how, people are going to office and it's a new normal. There is a new normal that I would like to discuss with you. And we'll come back to that later on. That is, for a student, when you're in college, including you and me, when our days were there, you showed the mom side of the story that, okay, mom is saying, beta, jaldi ghar aa jana type, or to theek to hai. I'm wondering what happened to all those boys and girls who are not able to go on dates together. I mean, that is one of the integral part of college life that I find. That is the new normal, that you can't go on dates with. I'm sorry, madam, for going on to this topic, but I'm sure that is something that every student must be, or most of the students must be concerned about. So, digital dating, well, I'm not so sure about it.
But I'll just add in that we were we were going to our office 3 days in a week to South Bombay. You can't even imagine. On the Worli ceiling, on the Worli sea face, it was packed. Can you imagine? I'm not saying it was packed with couples and all, but mostly youngsters might be going to college or going to Worli sea face. So some reality of life. I don't know what were their reasons, but and police was also that time is also okay. I'm talking about just last month in the month of June.
Okay, that's interesting. I have been home for a while, so I haven't seen that. But good you highlighted that. So that, I think that is one of the new channels that you're talking about, that you look for new channels of getting out and new things that you're doing. So maybe that comes apart with that. Thank you so much, Amit. I'll be coming back to you. And meanwhile, I would also like to get on to our next speaker, Shashank. Shashank is the Executive Vice President and Head of Strategic Planning. So when it comes to dating, what is your strategic advice, Shashank? Just kidding, by the way.
No, it's quite relevant, because right now we are in the process of actually signing up with a client who's an online dating app. Of course, we can't name it for confidentiality reasons, but the point is that in dating, you would be surprised to know, Manpreet, that chatting and video conversations have increased by like 300 or 400% for most of these players, be it OkCupid, be it Tinder, be it the the smaller ones that have come up like Who and Tun and all of that. Bumble. So if you look at about 2 days back, Bumble has just launched an ad saying love will find a way.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
despite all the constraints and all of that, couples, especially younger couples, will find a way, and all of that is happening. How dating happens, how conversations happen, how flirting happens, all of that is possible once the imagination takes place. So I wouldn't be surprised that online dating will really take off in the absence of physical meeting.
So I think let's not, teach the students what not to do. Okay. Let's say I would like to believe that things will be more localized. We need to be loyal to brands and people, of course. And I love the KFC video. It might be wrong timing for them, but at least looking at that really made me feel hungry. And you can imagine if you're in lockdown and you find like 30 people licking their fingers with burgers. I mean, that would have really got KFC more curses that, okay, you're showing me that. But anyway, so timing is definitely everything. So what do you think, in terms of today's marketing and your experience at Taproot Dentsu, when it comes to strategic planning for brands and for marketing, what is it that one thing that you would look for when you get a new client?
So to answer it directly, honestly, everyone is figuring it out. I don't think anybody has an answer yet. So I would like to start by sort of sharing this very candid view that marketing in the new normal has different answers. It does not have one answer. And like Amit also pointed out, there are some businesses that are very badly hit to the extent that they have been shut down. There are some businesses that have been fairly badly hit, like cars and theaters and malls and travel and hospitality and salons and stuff like that. And they are figuring out how to make that. So recently we were speaking to a brand called Urban Company. All of you would have known it previously as Urban Clap. Their business involves people coming into your house, which is like breaking and breaching the safety of your house. But they have started business and they're growing in the last 1.5 2 months. So I think as long as there is caution and there is precaution taken, businesses are trying to face those challenges and gearing up towards a safer world, be it Uber or be it Urban Clap for that matter. Then there are businesses that are actually not to capitalize or be opportunistic, but they are benefiting in some way because of this situation. I was reading a report by Forbes 3-4 days back saying viewership on kids and news and TV channels has increased by like 30, 40, 50%. So advertisers are going there. Advertising on news has increased according to BRC by about 15-20%. If you look at a non-media sector, then it is education. We saw a series of front page ads from Byju's and Vedant and whoever, Basic First and Topper and all of that, saying everything is now turned online. So there are some like even fashion, groceries, all of that. So to me, I think marketing in the new normal will have different answers. However, it is important to state certain principles of how does a brand or a business approach this situation. I think the first principle I would like to share is that we have to acknowledge the fact that uncertainty is not going to go away for a little while. We don't know what is going to happen. So drastically changing your business model is not the answer as long as it can be flexible and adaptable. Yeah. So for example, if you take a look at ITC, it has completely shifted its focus in the personal care portfolio from Fiamma and Vivell to Savlon. Now they have the flexibility to do that because they have 3 brands. One was a shower gel soaps brand or a hand wash brand, and the other one was a proper health and hygiene brand like Savlon, and then there was Vivell, which was about, again, beauty. So they have now completely shifted their business model to Savlon, and they have introduced 4 or 5 innovations, including a sanitizer, a spray, a Hexa soap. You would be seeing all those ads right now on online media as well as TV. So that's personal care. If you look at sports, I think sports is the most badly hit segment, apart from TV serials and stuff, which is also now slowly reviving. But look at IPL. We still don't know what's going to happen. We've got the news that it's definitely going to happen. However, it may happen outside of India. It may happen without audiences. It may happen with players in masks. It is going to be a very, very deathly sight to watch players in masks playing and celebrating, taking wickets and stuff like that. But that's going to happen. So as a business person, I think it is important to first lay down what are the operating principles for your particular business. Like Amit made a valid point. For physical dependency models where availability is everything, the only way for you to go is to try and get your things available in whatever limited fashion physically and then move online. Yeah. For those who are already online, the principle changes to how can I make sure that I am the preferred online brand. I think Amazon has run away with huge share of the online purchases versus a Flipkart or a Snapdeal or anybody else. And then there are people who innovate, like groceries on Swiggy, money on Uber, and things like that. So there are people who are logistics experts. They are saying, why should I just deliver one thing? I can deliver 4 things in this particular situation. So it applies to different businesses, and that is the first principle, saying what is your business model and how do you adapt. The second thing which is surprising to me is, yesterday or day before, I was asked by a person, we're pitching for an online education portal as well. And we are asked by a parent saying, what about when schools are doing online classes now, will the fees reduce? Because now there is no more rent or electricity or classroom or transportation of teachers and maintaining of sports grounds and facilities and all of that. So, and honestly speaking, nobody is reducing prices, even if they're turning to online, be it yoga instructors who used to come to you physically or dance instructors or whatever else. Even when restaurant kitchens have opened up, I don't see many of the big labels changing pricing, despite the fact that they're not supposed to serve customers at the physical place of the restaurant. So pricing is something that I think is completely now becoming inelastic, saying people don't really care. As long as they're getting what they want, they are okay, not asking or even being aware that, I actually should be charged less for this. The third point is basically about how do you communicate to people. Like I personally thought that in the first 2.5 months, we saw a barrage of COVID-19 work, to the point that I got irritated. I got upset, saying, what is this? Every brand is talking about, there is a hand wash brand which is saying every time you use a hand wash, you're fighting against the biggest pandemic. We know that. Why are you telling me what I already know? So when you communicate also, I think, how much do you context COVID unless you have a reason to play, and I think Samir will agree with me. We get briefs from our existing clients saying, yaar, COVID पे कुछ campaign करते हो, क्या है? Do you have any place to even be, licensed to say something like that? So, for example, if you're a condom brand, I get it. If you're an online dating brand, I get it. But if you're a soap brand, who's not a health and hygiene soap brand, like for example, let me take Dove, just to sort of give an example. What should Dove say about the COVID pandemic? I don't know. Why? The first question is, why should they even say it? So I think the third principle is to acknowledge whether you have a role to play in this context, or you should just continue with business as usual. Just sell your stuff like your stuff is supposed to be sold. You're a great moisturizing soap, stay that way. Don't get in the way. The only ad that I would like to share, which I believe was extremely relevant from a brand point of view. So there is a brand called Brook Bond Red Label, which launched a very nice story about a guy who's come back home after a treatment of COVID. He's obviously not shown, and his neighbor is preparing tea for him, and there's a message saying that he's told to be alone but not to be left alone and stuff like that. Now, here's a tea brand who has nothing to do with COVID, but the brand is about apnapan. The brand is about, togetherness. So I get that. So we need to, the third thing, I think brands or businesses need to introspect and say, what should I say? Should I even context or should I not context at all? And the fourth part, I think Amit has already covered very well, which is availability. Availability is different for different businesses. It is sometimes very challenging for certain businesses which are highly dependent. Theaters, for example, I don't know. Like I recently, maybe even some of you would have got some emails from Prithvi, no, not Prithvi, NCPA Experimental. So for those who don't know this, amongst our registrations, NCPA is a theater. As a theater where experimental drama, popular drama in different languages is shown in a physical space. But what they're now doing is they're doing Zoom calls with people to discuss the art of drama, discuss the art of acting, discuss the art of emotions, expressions. Now that's a very, very nice thing to do. I'm not sure how much they're earning by it, how much, whatever, but I'm saying it is the next best thing for somebody who can't do anything about. Yeah, at least he's being relevant in the correct way and not being desperate. Yeah, so I think those are the 3-4 things that I would sort of share from a experience of what needs to be done.
So true, so true. I think very relevant points you have put forward, and most of it was coming out to that, okay, this is what has changed and this is what is right and this is what is wrong and what is the new normal and how to go about it. If you ask me what has been the takeaway, I think that talking at the wrong time is worse than keeping your mouth shut. So Absolutely. Sometimes keeping quiet the brands is what they should do. Not necessarily you have to comment on everything that's coming out, and you don't need to associate your brand with everything that is going around about you. Sometimes it's better to just lie low and keep shut. You very well rightly pointed out regarding the theaters and cinemas. If you really ask me, if they would have gone outside the box and thinking, like for example, schools, that is where every family is connected much more than a theater. And if schools are leasing out their places to COVID centers and isolation centers and making money out of it, I don't see what is stopping cinemas. I mean, if we can send our children to a school after a pandemic, I'm sure we would be going to a cinema after this thing too. So it is something that they should also think about and make money during this time. So that is an innovation which is out of the box, and maybe they can think about it. So that is something that a cue that you all are, the entire team of speakers is associated with these brands. Maybe they can use it up because we are in this for the long run for sure. So what I also make out from what you told us is like, we have been basically swept off our feet. Like we really don't know what's happening. All the brands, the companies, suddenly our comfort zone was taken away from us. We don't know what to sell, where to sell, how to sell, whether they would sell or they would not sell, whether people would buy. It is just too many questions. And like we all know, earlier it used to be that, we used to have plans, we used to have top line, bottom line. We used to say, okay, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, this is the target, this is what is achieved. That's a different thing altogether, whether you achieved those or you did not. But at least you were good at guessing. Let me put it this way. Now, with this pandemic, your guesses have started going wrong. Anyways, nobody can predict the future. Nobody can predict that, okay, there's going to be an earthquake, or people might stop using your brand. They might go for another brand. But you were in your own comfort zone of advertising, of relating to people, your brand relating to people, which is not so evident anymore. Although, like, it was mentioned, Amit said, Puma still goes for a Puma. But somebody who's lost his job would say that, okay, I rather use my Puma, which is there with me, instead of buying a new one. Or he might say that, okay, I'll buy another brand. I don't care about the brand in this time. So it's a new normal, like we were discussing. There's another thing that Shashank, you mentioned is like, about marketing. I would say, jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai at the end of the day. So when you're going to grocery stores, which have always been open, and you're there at the counter, your hoarding is displayed or your branding is displayed. Imagine 4 months you're not seeing anything, any hoardings, any television. But when you go to buy your groceries, which you are going, which every family is going, and you have an advertising there, that would be the right placement, if you really ask me. And you mentioned about the viewership also, like nearly 30 to 50% viewership going on television, Netflix, Amazon Prime. Your content is king today. So that is something that came out as very evident to me from your talks. So I'm going to come back to you on that one, and how you associated yourself with big brands during this time, and how you nurtured them, or you helped nurture them, and how you were also pitching to these companies this new normal. I'm going to get back to you on that. Meanwhile, let's go on to Samir. Samir Vitla, we have Samir as an experiential head, DDP Mudra. Now, DDP Mudra, as we all know, is one of the top advertising companies, above the line, below the line, throughout the board. So, Samir, what do you think, in this time, what has changed and what should not change?
So I think, Manpreet, taking the cue from what you started off with, okay, I think what we need to do is not really think out of the box, but think within the box. I think we've just been all captured into one box and probably been asked to think through how we can innovate from here or reinvent. So I think there are three words that I've been using over the last 5 months very, very clearly. One is, we hope that things are going to get better. We hope that this is going to get over soon. We hope that there is something which is going to come and probably save us all, and we hope that life gets back to normal. Like, that hope has been very clearly acknowledged and used probably by me, at least over the last 4 months, very, very rapidly. And what I've also seen in the market is, I think everyone is clinging onto this hope. And that is where I think the brands are also playing a very key role. I think every brand that I think Shashank was also trying to point is trying to, lend themselves into that space of giving out a hope to the consumers, that we are there for you, we are there with you, and we hope to come out of it together. So I think that critically, that hope part is very, very important. I think the second thing that we've probably been doing at our end, and I think a lot of brands that we've seen, which also stems from what Amit and Shashank have spoken about, is reinvent. I think if you're not able to reinvent now, obviously keeping barring the fact that Dove has to be a moisturizing soap and it can't really go into a soap of or a category of Lifebuoy. But I think reinventing is very important. Considering the fact that right now, with the challenges that everyone is facing, if we are not going to move out of it with a new different color to ourselves, I think then probably the whole pandemic is not going to be taken as an opportunity. And I strongly believe that though it has been a curse to a lot, in fact to 99% probably of the population, but if we don't turn such pandemic or such curse into an opportunity, I think, as you rightly started off also, that we've seen it for once in a lifetime. The opportunity is not going to come again as well. So I think what we are also trying to do is not just take it head on in terms of, okay, it's a pandemic, let's just boil down, let's just, sit in our houses and corners and just be backed by it. But I think we all are working towards creating opportunities and creating a strength out of it, which will help us in reigniting and reinventing ourselves. At Mudra, specifically with the Max Vertical, which is into activation experiential, you will not believe in last 3 months, we've done about close to 45 virtual events. Okay, events that probably were physically done first, where we had a gathering of 100, 200 people. Now we're doing about 40, 45 of these events virtually, where we have an audience which is actually sitting across and being a part of it. We are doing new launches, we are doing new dealer meets regularly, talking to retailers, because let's understand, the organization is not just looking at its consumers, it is also looking at its partners. This is an important element that probably we miss out in this pie. And out of this 45 virtual meets, I think 40 have been only to partners, to retailers, to channel partners, to distributors, to dealers, to keep them engaged. Like, imagine a classic case where Gillette probably cannot do too much in this category right now because of COVID, right? But they have figured out a way to reach out to the barbers. They have created a kit, which is going to be a kit specifically targeted to barbers, which is going to be taking care of them. So imagine a COVID care kit given to barbers by Gillette. Now what's that? That's just saying that I am there with you in this time. We will pass through this together. We are not going to be alone. We are not letting you go alone. Let's just go together in this, and with that hope, with that reinvention, let's just move out of this together in a more stronger way. I think every brand, as rightly my colleagues Amit and Shashank are talking about, there is a way in which everyone is dealing with it, and everyone is working towards it. In fact, probably we are thinking more than we used to think earlier during our regular courses of time. With work from home, I think the time band has completely extended to across 24/7 and 365 days. I hope it doesn't last for 365 days, but yeah, it is that ways right now. We are all stretched beyond the regular hours, and we are thinking more than we used to, just to ensure that we have something exciting to give back to the partners, to give back to the consumers, to give back to the society in a way that this entire thing can be turned head on, in a way that probably after 6 months we will still be smiling after this entire thing is over, saying that okay, there was a COVID which came, which hit us, but we are still fit fine and we are out of it, and probably done better and invented ourselves.
That's true. That's true. That's so true. I want to take up one thing that you said, what brands are doing for their partners and, like online meetings for their vendors, for their partners, and that is really making a lot of difference. I would like to say that, yes, that is one of the most important thing. And you have now a captive audience. I'll give you an example. I have a habit of talking with examples. So we found that, when as a Chamber of Commerce or as my own business with my own vendors and all that, for the first 1 month of the lockdown, we found that, people were very happy staying at home, spending time with family. Then started the trend of webinars, and online meetings, and people started more and more joining them for 2 months or so. And we found that over a period of time, today there are so many webinars happening that people have become selective. So that itself has ensured that you have a captive audience now. There are people that are looking for the right opportunity. There are people that are looking for the right place to be in. And for example, these vendor meets and partner meets, and earlier when, for example, you mentioned a brand, that particular brand had a getaway resort spending a few $1 million, and you have 500 people there whom you wanted to interact, and they have been coming up, and but the net turnaround, if you say how much business increased, well, not so much. Your point that you could put through in those seminars and in those venues and in these events, maybe you had 500 people sitting, but at the end of the day, only those 50 used to listen. But in today's times, let's say you call the same 500 people for a webinar, maybe 200 would turn up. But at the end of the day, you still have those 25-50 people who would be glued onto your screen because they were there for your product. They were there for your brand. They were there because they want to be with you and grow with you. So that I would say that, yes, if you're there with them in this time, that is the thing that is going to stay a long way. And this would be your new marketing force that would take care of most of the brands in the near future. Because as you said, rightly, that it's going to stay for a while. You also, Samir, mentioned about hope and reinvention. About reinvention, if you discuss with most of your companies that you deal with, we find that every 5 years or so odd, most of the brands are reinventing themselves, either with new products or new sub-brands or new product lines, new packaging. So it is just one of those disruptions that happen, and we have been looking at it since our childhood and maybe our families before that. Like for example, shoes. Bata is not what it used to be 50 years ago. In fact, Bata is not even what it used to be 10 years ago. Similar goes for all other brands. Everybody reinvents them every 5 years, every 6 years is a ballpark figure. Some brands and businesses, I'm sure all three of you would agree, and so would the audience, that in this time are making a phenomenal amount of money. So as a business cycle goes, you have some opportunity or the other coming your way. Every business gets a once in a lifetime opportunity. Now is the time for healthcare industries. Now is the time for online industries. So I think this is just a normal cycle of our lives that we see under some pretext or the other. This time is the pandemic. Maybe sometimes it was the earthquake. It was the 2008 to 2007, 2008 economic meltdown. I mean, I'll give you my own example. We know a lot of companies that suffered huge problems during the global financial crisis and the global financial meltdown 2008 2009. But my personal business, that was the best sales year of my company since inception of say maybe 45 years or so. So for some it's an opportunity, for some it is not. So it is getting the right opportunity and making use of the opportunity that is there. So you have to ensure how you reinvent yourself and ensure that you survive. You ensure that the family is dependent on you survive, and the brands go in for it. So that's the take I would take from you, Samir. Coming back to you, Amit. Now that you've heard, Shashank and Samir, what do you think and what do you make out of this? Because we're getting a lot of questions from students. That shows that students are listening what you have to say. They're learning from their experiences. And I would like to take one question. We have a student, Aditi Talpade. She's doing MMS, and we find that she's asking what will happen after the pandemic to the industry of freelancers. Now, in the last 4 months, people sitting at home are giving online classes.
Yeah.
They're helping students. They're helping each other. Businesses are starting with, for example, selling masks, sanitizers, sitting at home. Okay, you need something, I'm there for you. I can give something. What do you have for me? So we have a huge lineage today of freelancers. What do you think, Amit, is going to be the future for them?
Okay, so interesting take by you, Manpreet, on the opportunity during crisis. So I'll give one example of 2003 SARS, what SARS did to especially China and Hong Kong. See, the entire online industry of China, which is now around, if I'm not wrong, around $3 trillion US. Our entire e-commerce or retail together in India is not even $1 trillion. It's because of SARS. The entire Alibaba, Tencent, JD.com, entire thing is because of SARS. SARS gave that push, that rocket push to Alibaba and the other online industry in China. Same thing is happening in India. And one, I think you very well pointed out the freelancing thing. And it's very close to me because I'm like a thorough fitness freak by heart when it comes to fitness. And I'm taking a lot of classes. Of course, I am taking in terms of being a student, dance classes for my child, not even dance, some fitness classes, schools online, Har yoga classes, gymnastics, aerobics. So everything is online. So there is one thing in freelancing, what has happened because of this, the good freelancers have fired their customers. I mean, firing means fired their bad customers, which every freelancer should do. That's if I follow a person called as Seth Godin when it comes to freelancing. He's like the god when it comes to freelancing. A phenomenal guy. He's written around 18 books. So if freelancer, normally earlier it was like the freelancer's time was not valued. Like I'll give you a personal again anecdote. My wife is talking to one freelancer. She is at the top of her game when it comes to yoga. Like she charges around, can you imagine, around 4,000 rupees for an hour. For 1 hour she charges 4,000 rupees. Her name is Sunita, and she has done, I think from last 25 years she's into yoga and holistic approach and all. Earlier my wife used to talk to her like for half an hour, 1 hour on like weekly basis, taking some guidance. Before pandemic there was no comms, it was like friend. Now she's saying when I talk to her, I think I am eating her time and I'm taking a free deal. Even she is my friend, I eat her 4,000 rupees on one call. So that cognizance has come out because of this pandemic, because uska 1 ghanta ka value hai, which we were not the case before pandemic, because online classes are there. Second thing is international audience for freelancers. I'm connected to a group wherein again I'm a Marwadi, so being a Marwadi, so there's a community. So there's a community in who are especially in Middle East and North America. So they are in touch that they want classes on Vedic maths. I never heard this name, Vedic maths, right? Vedic maths. They want classes on abacus from Japan, mathematics from Japan. So freelancing game has up, and I know so many people who are making money, but again, you need to draw the line where you need to fire your bad customer and where you need to keep your good customers, like how you bucket the cost, good cost and bad cost. That's what I think freelancer should do. Okay, one more thing on education, what Shashank very well pointed out, that everybody is going online. But the thing is, in New York, students have, sorry madam, this is the wrong forum, but I'll just share the news. in New York and in Texas, students have filed case against universities that they are not reducing the fees. For what we should pay the fees, because we are not using the real estate, we are not using the infra, we are not using services. Irony is, sorry, but like yesterday I got a call from some institute that your remuneration has been reduced. And I asked, sir, have you reduced the fees of the students? They told no. Then why the hell you're reducing the fees? And he told, he is a director of the institute. He told, sir, it's not my thing. Even my salary has got cut. I got a cut of 25% in last 3 months. So it's not only, so on one side, student fees are not getting reduced in education, but on other side, there is a salary cut across the spectrum. It's like, sorry, but it's like an opportunity, being an opportunist. I'm not saying I don't want to point out on particular institute, but that's happening around the globe. Sorry.
But you know, Amit, no, Amit, what happens is, you know, like I was mentioning, it's about education is also a business. You know, for example, even my daughter, she goes to a reputed school and they have also not reduced fees. But, you know, if fees was the criteria, that the only thing, then, you know, I would have put my daughter in a government school for that matter, you know, hardly any fees. I mean, I have studied in a HSC board and our fees was 5 rupees, 6 rupees, 10 rupees, and we turned out just fine. But it is just out of choice that we are putting our children in all these schools and colleges. And, you know, there's a difference. We are getting value out of that. Even when we are at home, look at the teachers, you know, even they are also online with us. They have their own homes. Imagine they never got a holiday for the next last 2 months. So it's a question of looking at it and putting your feet in the other's shoe. It's a never-ending story, I would say, getting onto that. But very valid point you mentioned regarding connecting through communities. When you say communities, let it be any kind of a community, you know, religious community, a local yoga group or whatever. That is what has become your new marketing mantra. I would like to ask Shashank. Shashank, do you think that communities and all are the new marketing areas that you would go to for looking at brands or to looking at selling products? Or do you think we have another question also from another one of the students, like utilization of AR and VR to market and to sell? And looking at the past, for example, Google Glasses, which came and did not work out. We now have GeoGlass, which is again in partnership with Google, which may or may not work out. Everything comes down to bandwidth. You know, marketing, sales, education, it's all down to bandwidth today. Your maximum consumption is data. So how would you say a brand or your marketing would they consider this data limitation or a bandwidth limitation when it comes to marketing campaigns? I'll give you an example. You know, online exhibitions. Today we have one of the best exhibition softwares that are coming out every day, giving you 3D virtual experience. And people who are, okay, you know, we are going to be online exhibition and, you know, you can come and you can have a stall, you can look at the stall, you click this, you'll get a VR, there's a nice video. But do you think that is sustainable for somebody who's coming from a tier 2, tier 3 city, who used to travel to all the place like Mumbai or Delhi to go to an exhibition to get a product? Do you think his mobile phone or his laptop is capable to looking at those kind of VR and AR situations? Or it has to be a completely different approach? What do you think, Shashank?
I think it's again a very case-to-case thing. So I recently have a colleague who shifted homes from one part of town to another, and she was telling me about how one app is allowing you to do a virtual visit of a home when you can't travel and, you know, put yourself at risk. But her broker told her that yeah, you may have the, you know, the virtual reality and augmented reality app, which may give you a better experience, but we have been doing it all the time via WhatsApp videos or WhatsApp calling or WhatsApp pictures. So if I go into a house as a broker and I take a video on my phone and I share that video with somebody, it is, I mean, it can not to the extent of what quality an AR or a VR can give, but a video is pretty much there in terms of the basics.
So true, so true.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if, so I, in fact, one of the responses that have come on Q&A also, that a couple of people have done live exhibitions of handicraft and art and all of that. So like I said, if it's the next best thing to do, I don't think it is uh, the exact experience that you will get. I mean, it is obvious that it will be a compromised experience. Just like now students are figuring out a way to learn online, people will have to figure out a way, if it works for them, to consume these kind of exhibitions or seminars online.
Students are also learning how to cheat online, huh? Don't forget that part.
Yeah, yeah. So it's quite tricky. Honestly, AR and VR existed for a long time now. Be it test drives, be it looking at a house or looking at a product from 360 kind of view, or the GeoGlass now that enables you to experience stuff that is otherwise impossible to experience in a physical environment. So I think that technology will obviously nuance and make the experience incrementally, sometimes exponentially better. But to generalize that, oh, people will now throng to these things at the drop of a hat is also maybe not. I wouldn't venture to go as far as that. I think people will be sampling it to see if it works for them. For me personally, it doesn't work. For example, I go to auto exhibitions, Auto Expo. Yeah, everybody knows about it. If Auto Expo was online, I wouldn't go.
True, very
I
true.
would rather look at an article. I would rather look at a blog saying what are the new models, and then I will go online and look at those models on those websites and take a 360-degree view. But I wouldn't
Define models, huh?
Yeah, I mean, car models.
You meant the cars or the models?
The car models, yeah. So that's about it. But it's personal. Like, I'm sure that sometimes the buzz is so much that people say that let me try, and for Auto Expo to happen virtually in itself is a news. So just by the virality and the buzziness of that particular event, I'm sure there'll be huge amounts of people wanting to sample Auto Expo, which is done virtually. However, how effective it is, whether it is better than the actual physical one, and all that is very personal and subjective to me.
It's like learning driving online.
Yeah.
You do have that, huh? By the way, there's one right next to my house that teaches you that.
Right.
Maruti Suzuki is doing that already. They teach you there, and then you take the real car out, and then the car doesn't even manage to reach out of the garage, and it's back inside the garage. So less said the better.
Just add on to Shashank's point, I think just a couple of important pieces that I think what he's mentioned, the newness of anything which is going to get the car models. Yeah. So just to add on to, I think the newness of anything that you're going to invent now, it's going to be there for a while. But let's understand that touch and feel will never go off. Unless and until I give a touch and feel experience of a product to a consumer, be it a house or be it a car also, I think the virtual experience is just going to be a substandard one right now because there is no option. You think that people would have an option to go to an Auto Expo, they will still be on a virtual platform to see it? Absolutely not. So that touch and feel and that conviction to buy that product will only come when they are able to experience this live in front of them by touching it, feeling it, seeing it, going into the house and being a part of it. That's when it comes in.
But I have sorry Samir, I have a different take on that. I'll bit contradict on that. Of course, you're right. Touch and feel is there, but it depends on see if it's a utilitarian product like diaper. So for buying diaper for
you
my
don't
baby,
want to touch a diaper.
Yeah. So I don't want to touch and feel and want to buy. It's a very auto mode. So I will.
See, I'm sure that is applied to even a product category of condoms for that matter, obviously. But I guess it's more to do with the category agreed to that. But as far as the cars or the houses go, I think it's very important to give a touch and feel.
Yeah. Exactly. I think proportional to the price you're paying for the product most of the time.
No, that's got nothing to do with that sometimes, huh? Like, I'll give you my example. When I used to be in college, I used to go to Auto Expo to look at the girls. I mean, I'm being very frank about it. I'm sure most of the students here would be going there to that for that. And of course, cars was one of the feature
way you started off with the models, it was very clear the idea of going to Auto Expo was what?
See, at that age, that's what matters. Trust me.
At any age.
Okay, let's not go there. I'm sure madam is going to kick out of the webinar today.
Yeah.
Sure,
Samir,
sure.
one more, I have this question from one of our students, that you would be able to answer. I think your expertise is an expert on that when it comes to that. When it comes to content, there's so much content today. There's a flood of content, there's a flow of content. You don't know what to see, what to watch. Imagine your WhatsApp is like you switch off your phone, switch it back on, 10,000 messages, all kinds of groups. Earlier, family and friends were a pain anyways. Now imagine building wala, baju wali building wala, mask wala, sanitizer wala. Everybody's got their own groups. You keep ensuring deleting, and then you are on two minds, delete or not to delete also. So similar when brands are selling online today, you have the click.
Yeah.
Today click is supreme. If you click, you go to a site, you click, you see an ad from a company, you have to click it. That's what matters. You have to go away from your point of center of the flow of information that you have to the brand. You click and you go to the brand, you click and go to this area where you are supposed to go, where the for a brand it makes a difference. Do you think that how do you actually ensure that the person stays, the person clicks, the person goes to where you want him to go?
So I think I will also need Shashank to kind of chip in, because I think it also pertains to him to a certain extent. But what I understand is the phase that I can clearly define right now is called digital diarrhea. Yeah, I think everything is just going overload. I think people are just flooding contents, and I think taking from what Shashank was also talking about, without thinking, without putting their mind to it, without expecting a consumer to act on it. So the click is an act. If I don't have an actionable intelligence behind it or a thought behind it, the consumer is just going to go all over the place. Like, I believe that there are brands right now who have created a actionable act to it or an actionable intelligence to it, where they are able to derive who should be my consumer and what is that he needs. I think it's important that you listen to that guy, you listen to that consumer, rather than just flooding him with information. In fact, with data right now, it's become so easy that I can reach out to the right guy. Then why is a brand spending money on going to the every wrong person on this world? Right? I think if I can go to the right guy and make him action out a particular campaign or a particular ad, I think that's my problem solution. I don't need anything else. Shashank, over to you. I think more than happy to add from Amit or Shashank. Yeah.
No,
Shashank, I want to ask you this. I want to add something onto what Samir has said. For example, there are two sides to this. One is if you're a brand, and one if you're a consumer. The brand wants to show you something. The consumer sees something else. I mean, for example, open up a Facebook page. You have an ad scrolling. They want to show you something else. You are actually looking at something else. The brand is spending money. The consumer is looking at it. Yes, but is that actually having an impression? Or does that add that, okay, visibility is there, chalo, we are okay with that, at least we are visible? Does that make a difference, or you want actionable reply from the consumer?
So I think it depends on the status of the brand pre-pandemic. So I'll tell you a very, very personal experience. When I first went out to get Maggi to my grocer, there was no Maggi available. So the next best was either Nor or some YY or something else. Some what is that, Ranveer Singh brand?
Yippee.
Is there? Yeah, Yippee was there, and then some other Chinese noodles brand and stuff like that. Ching's. Yeah.
Things. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen, despite me being a regular customer, I haven't seen a Maggi ad for a long time, especially during this period. The last thing I saw was that mother who is trying to teach her son who's about to go to a hostel or whatever it is to be independent, and some cute ad like that. But if you're a brand like Maggi, you don't have much to worry. The moment you can be available, you can be rest assured that the world will buy you. So the moment Maggi was in stock with my grocers, I started buying Maggi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True, very true, very true.
But if you're a challenger brand, if you're a brand who's struggling to get share, if you're a brand who's newly come into the market, then visibility really matters. So which is why many brands who have actually taken the opportunity to get innovations and relevant products in the times of pandemic. Like I was telling, for example, Savlon has a disinfectant surface spray that it has launched. It is very important to advertise on TV, because on digital you may not be able to get that kind of reach. So depending on the problem at hand, like Samir rightly meant, you have to think कि मेरे पास जो product है वो किसके लिए relevant है, ये context में उसे कौन खरीदेगा, उसके लिए जरूरत क्या है. So if there is a requirement to broadcast that Baba, this product is there available from a very familiar reassuring brand like Savlon, it has to be there.
Absolutely.
But that has always been there, right? That has always been there. I mean, whenever, you know, the lead people, they would, I mean, I don't remember the last time I saw a Maggi tomato ketchup ad. You know, you remember the hot and sweet or hot and chili ads, you know, they used to bombard, and it's still stuck. But you don't find them anymore. So pandemic or no pandemic, I think all the brands, you know, it's a matter of time. It's a matter of positioning. I think in times of crisis, it is where the second and the third brands or new brands get a huge opportunity, and that is when they get to shine. That's my personal take on that. Coming back to the entire discussion that we've had, the new normal in marketing, and you know, I think we have had an enlightening discussion today from all three of you. You know, Amit, Samir, Shashank. I mean, your views have been, you know, at least opened up my minds, at least, and I'm sure even the students and all the other people who've joined in. We are now, you know, getting a barrage of question and answers for all three of you. I would like to throw them open to you if you're okay with that.
Yeah, more than happy.
Okay, you know, we have a student, and she's asking, if you had a magic wand, what would your customers change about their experiences with your product after COVID-19? That's a question from Rushabh Salvi. And if you had a magic wand, what would customers change about their experiences with your product after the pandemic? How would you actually give the experience to the customer if you say that, okay, you know, you can do whatever you want to interact with your customer? What would that one thing be? Like, don't tell me that, you know, go and sit in their lap. That's not happening.
I think post-pandemic, I think I would just be there for them. Like I was there with them during the pandemic. I think there's nothing else for me to do. Just make myself relevant for them so that they don't lose out the sheen on me in terms of going to a competitor.
True. I think that's one of the things.
Yeah, I think what best they can do is I want them to stay with me forever, if possible, throughout the entire customer journey. So throughout the entire life cycle. So like what Walmart or Big Bazaar or Amazon will try to do. So we'll sell them products also, services, finances, home loans, everything, like an ecosystem play. So I would want them to stay with me till the lifetime.
It's like it's like a mall. Now, once you get the customer in, कुछ ना कुछ तो बेच के ही रहेंगे.
Yes.
You know, you hand them a trolley and buy. I don't care what you buy. You just buy something at the end of the day. We are there with you. That's what matters. Okay. Another question we have is from Dr. Saundaraj from Tamil Nadu. When people are at large looking for the essentials due to the influence of pandemic, how about the future of sophisticated luxury products? I would like to add something to what Dr. Saundaraj has said. If you really ask me my point of view, the top 1% or the HNIs, it doesn't make a difference. I have seen in my life and from the case studies from my management classes and during my management days that it has been a different ball game for this top 1%. For these HNI clients, they don't care whether it's pandemic or not. They have enough for the past 7 generations. They have enough for the next 7 generations. But it is the medium to top, which is the migratory consumer that you're having, that is trying to convert a luxury brand into a mass market brand at that value proposition. How do you think the future of these sophisticated luxury products would be?
I think I would agree with you, Manpreet. For a certain set of people, the money won't matter. Like for example, the A+ or the already affluent kind of cluster. The moment the pandemic is over, I don't know if it will affect their sense of luxury or premium end thing buying. But if you look at the next set of people who are maybe salaried or small to medium businessmen or high senior management positions, I know of my own CEO who was supposed to buy the Jeep Compass, who's now doesn't know. It's not that he doesn't have money, but these kind of situations
Uncertainty.
do tend to affect you, because it also means uncertainty of income. So I think it's directly proportional to the amount you have secured for yourself in the future. If that is such an amount that you don't really care about, then it is inelastic, doesn't matter. But the moment that is dependent on the situation, then these categories will take a hit. So specifically personal items like handbags and luxury items like luggage and phones and clothes and accessories, sunglasses, cars, tech gadget, all of that. The high-end segment is going to get affected purely from this cluster's point of view. So a premium product or a service usually in itself will have a multiplicity of segments. One segment for them is secure. The moment things are back, they'll get business from that segment. But from the lower segment, it may be
Okay,
but at the end of the day, I feel innovation is what is going to matter. Like I saw some WhatsApp videos a few days ago where they take this button and put elastic rubber bands in that and put it on your specs, and it becomes able to hold your mask. So maybe Ray-Ban comes out with an aviator that has an application for a mask, and you can have a high-end mask on a high-end goggles, and you're back in the game.
You're probably going to have masks which will have earphones in it. Just to tell you.
That's cool.
Oh, see, Manpreet,
thank you, sir.
I'll just add one thing there. So I totally agree with you. So there is one takba जिसको recession से फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. Me and my boss will also say उनको कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. For them, they have never seen the sun.
You and your boss are part of that.
No. I'm not even a subset of that. Forget the mindset. So no, when we had our office in BKC, so we used to say Sharma ji वो लोग left turn लेते हैं towards South Bombay. So those are those people. हम लोग right लेते हैं, अंधेरी वाले, मलाड वाले, बोरीवली वाले. But sorry. So but there is an interesting take what we are witnessing. There is a premiumization when it comes to food, because we are staying at home. So I've seen, so I know I'm interacting with few vendors, especially dry fruits like Mamara Badam, which is around 4,000 rupees a kg. So this guy is one of the largest wholesaler in the country based out of Bandra. So he is saying that, Dada, we have been selling dry fruits like highest, better than Diwali. But what's the channel? WhatsApp and Instagram. Because Nature Basket is not doing that much of sale. Foodall is not doing that much of sale. Amazon is like clocking the numbers, and WhatsApp. And so he's saying otherwise people used to say I want American almonds or sasta wala dry fruit, but because of COVID, immunity, health and fitness, so there is a premiumization when it comes to food. Like I know in my house mushroom is getting broccoli, which was like once in a month, is now like weekly. एक तो जिंदगी में ना मिलेगी ना दोबारा syndrome, what I'll say, कि पता नहीं यार आगे क्या हो तो खाओ तो ढंग से लो. And second, on the contrary, when it comes to consumption of apparel, fashion, it has taken a hit. Not even premium, even a category marching towards premium, they are also taking a hit because we have become more conscious of our consumption because of the environmental factors and of course uncertainty, money. So I think food, so there is a different contradictory thing when it comes to food and apparel, what we are witnessing in terms of numbers and customer behavior.
So true. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having all of you all here today with us, and it's been a really enlightening journey, like I said. And the take that I get here is, you keep on innovating, you keep on doing what you have to do, you give hope, you keep smiling, and tomorrow's going to be a better day. On that note, thanking all the speakers. Thank you, Amit. Thank you, Shashank. And thank you, Samir. It's been a pleasure. Back to you, madam. Back to you, Aditya Institute of Management.
Thank you so much. It has been a delightful discussion. I must say that each and every person came up with a different take on the new normal. I think the most interesting part was the experiences shared by each speaker with respect to handling. And additionally, they talked about the way in which invention is actually going to take a new place. So I think it is all about positivity, the hope factor, which has actually caught on to me as well, because we are also extremely optimistic about the future. This pandemic is there to stay for sure. We know that, but then we have started devising methods of coping up with the way in which this situation is emerging before us. So whether it is a brand or it is education, I think even education for that matter becomes a brand actually. We are trying to understand or rather re-understand the ways in which the pedagogy has to reach out to people. So again, the same, marketing principles are being borne by us also as an educational institute, where we are quite concerned about reaching out to all the students in such a way that they're able to understand the subjects better. So I think the methods and devices are reinventing themselves on their own. So I must say that the entire discussion was really engaging and engrossing. I have to make a special mention about all the panel members who were here for today's webinar. To begin with, Mr. Amit Sharma, a big, huge thanks, because I think we are meeting after a long time. So the pandemic has actually ensured that we were able to connect with people that we don't usually connect with on a daily basis. So thank you so much for being there. Mr. Shashank Lanjekar, your thoughts and ideas have always been very different and unique. And even the way in which you expressed yourself today was equally unique. So I really appreciate all that. Samir, thank you so much for being here, because you brought in the hope element, the element of relevance, and actually that got caught on to everybody very contagiously. So I think everybody started to think like that, and the entire panel discussion has moved in a direction that gives us all a new hope with the new normal. And this new hope is really important for all of us. Thanks a lot to Mr. Manpreet Singh for the wonderful moderation and for the way in which he has brought in the lighter side and humor in trying to engage with the audiences, the viewers. My heartfelt thanks to all the viewers, including specifically all those who have taken out time from their busy office schedules. So rather than working from home, they have actually taken out time to listen to this webinar. All the professors, all the students, and above all my faculty colleagues here at the Institute who have been here with me in putting this entire webinar together. So a huge thanks to everybody. And I think we end on this note that this new normal is actually going to bring in new thinking, and this new thinking and new possibilities is what we are looking forward to. So thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone.